kidnapped and brought to these things, and they're like power the underground systems of like what the top people got going on. Like it's a crazy ass thing, even though it's based on like an alternate universe. If we are basically trying to say like it's not happening here, there could be very well some parts to it or components that are true.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. This photo shows the scariest conspiracy theories in the world. Now, as I'm sure you know, in this series, we're going through from the least scary to the ones that will literally change your life. Now, if you're easily scared, do not watch this. And with that said, let's kick off part 9. When I say this is mental, I mean it. So this is by far the craziest one yet. So today we're going to be speaking about the higher governments. But we all know there's a government, you've got your politicians, your presidents, everything. But what if there's someone above that? Almost like the Illuminati. Let's take a look. So this right here is a philosophical theory of Plato's cave. I know it sounds confusing, but stick with me. Basically, take a look at the diagram. So basically, the projection on the walls of the media and what we see, we're the people sitting down, and the people behind it are the higher government. So like I've said, that's the theory. But what we're seeing is just the outside, the government. But behind that, what we can't see, there's something higher actually going on. Kind of makes sense? Stick with me. Now, moving on, we've got this place called Bohemian Grove, which is where high-ranking government officials, politicians, and everything go every year. It's a very top-secret meeting, but no one really knows what takes place here.
Conspiracy theories about the Denver airport. It's huge. There's giant bunkers for like the end of the world for the elite to come and stay safe after everybody else dies. There's a giant horse statue, and people say it symbolizes the apocalypse and the end of the world because it has bright red glowing eyes. The artist that designed it, during the construction of the horse, a piece of the horse fell off, landed on him, cut his leg off, and he bled to death. And
see, I got some conspiracy TikToks that might wake you up and change your reality, bro. Y'all stay tuned, hit that like button, notification bell, so the algorithm is right. And let's get straight to it, man.
hell yeah.
There's this weird theory that whenever you wake up with a sore neck, it's because a demon tried to break your neck. Type shit. If you get goosebumps, even though you're not cold, which I tend to get a lot.
I get goosebumps all the time.
Bro, I swear to God, bro. It's apparently because several ghosts are looking at you. Like at that moment.
It feels spooky as hell whenever I do get goosebumps.
Swear to God, bro.
When I get them, like, my whole body's like,
I get that sense, bro, in my head that like something's fucking wrong. And it's weird because it happens in my house like often. You hear somebody call your name.
yeah.
But there's nobody there. Whenever that happens, it's a demon trying to like get a hold of you. Yeah, like trying to capture you. I used to have my aunt in the house. She used to be living with me. I think she was calling my name, and then like ask her if she was calling my name, and she'd be like, "No, I don't know what's going on." Like type shit. And it's creepy, bro, because like I'll be like, "What the fuck?"
She would be tweaking.
Have you ever had a dream with somebody random in it?
Yeah.
Bro, I had this dream the other night, right? Some random kids were in it and shit like that, and they were like playing around, and like we were all chilling in this car. And then I woke up and I was like, "Who the fuck were they?" Whenever you see random people in your dreams, it's like ghosts that are around you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. Like, go Courage the Cowardly Dog, right? You remember that shit?
Yeah.
It's based on a true story.
How's that?
You know the house, right?
Yeah.
It's in New Mexico. There was once like 2 elderly people that lived there, and they reportedly were seeing like a bunch of scary shit, like monsters and shit like that. And they claimed them to be skinwalkers. And if you didn't know, skinwalkers can take on the persona of anything that they eat or chill. Apparently, the police went there. The old people were gone, and all they found was the dead dog.
What's happened to your parents?
That nobody knows. It just disappeared.
Theory of like there's about the monuments, the Lincoln Looker, the Washington Tower, and like the Statue of Liberty and all that. And it's like that there's these creatures inside of them, and like they feed on people and stuff like that. And people get like kidnapped and brought to these things, and they're like power the underground systems of like what the top people got going on. Like it's a crazy ass thing, even though it's based on like an alternate universe. If we are basically trying to say like it's not happening here, there could be very well some parts to it or components that are true.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. This photo shows the scariest conspiracy theories in the world. Now, as I'm sure you know, in this series, we're going through from the least scary to the ones that will literally change your life. Now, if you're easily scared, do not watch this. And with that said, let's kick off part 9. When I say this is mental, I mean it. So this is by far the craziest one yet. So today we're going to be speaking about the higher governments. But we all know there's a government, you've got your politicians, your presidents, everything. But what if there's someone above that? Almost like the Illuminati. Let's take a look. So this right here is a philosophical theory of Plato's cave. I know it sounds confusing, but stick with me. Basically, take a look at the diagram. So basically, the projection on the walls of the media and what we see, we're the people sitting down, and the people behind it are the higher government. So like I've said, that's the theory. But what we're seeing is just the outside, the government. But behind that, what we can't see, there's something higher actually going on. Kind of makes sense? Stick with me. Now moving on, we've got this place called Bohemian Grove, which is where high-ranking government officials, politicians and everything go every year. It's a very top-secret meeting, but no one really knows what takes place here. Theories it is a meeting to do with Illuminati or a higher government. And moving on, I guarantee you did not know this. There is actually a secret passageway behind Mount Rushmore. It's physically impossible to get in because there's this massive slab in front of it, but it's estimated behind here is the Hall of Records, which literally contains all of the secrets of America. Mental, isn't it? There is of course tons of stuff that we don't know and stuff going on in the world constantly. Theories suggest that it can't just be the president and politicians behind everything, though maybe there is some kind of higher government out there. They're controlled by the governments we see, and they are controlled by the governments that they see. Mental, let me know in the comments what you think. Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. Part 11. Today we are talking about time loops. This is mental and very, very confusing. So you've seen films such as Groundhog Day, Palm Springs, or Dark or anything. You kind of get the gist of this, but people are kind of stuck in a time loop reliving the same day again and again and again. Like things like Groundhog Day, Happy Death Day, all of that kind of stuff. What if this actually exists in real life? The theory is maybe there are some kind of wormholey weird places on Earth that connect interdimensionally with parallel universes. I told you it was confusing, didn't I? Now, if you don't know parallel universes, a universe is the same as our, but things play out differently. Maybe there are actual things like this out there. So I kind of think of it as if like a black hole but on Earth. And maybe when you enter this, it kind of freezes time so you're just stuck on your own. Almost like in your own bubble, just going through the same day again and again and again. I mean, it's mental and a crazy theory, but I mean, if you think about certain explanations for it, it kind of could be possible. But it's still mental.
These are scary what-if theories. What if everything behind you disappears, but when you look back, it reappears? What if our shadows were warning us about something in the dark because they disappear in it? What if you're the only person left on Earth and everyone and everything around us are just imaginary people and things we've made up so that we don't feel lonely? What if every time you think you hear your name being called, it's actually just your family trying to wake you up from a coma? What if the meteor that killed the dinosaurs was actually a UFO and we're the aliens? These are crazy what-if theories. What if air is actually poisonous, it's just taking 80 years to kill us? What if the reason we can't walk through mirrors is because our reflection is blocking us because they want to protect us from the other side? What if birthmarks are the places that actually killed us in our past lives? What if dreams are reality and reality as we know it is a dream?
He's also the one who told me about Bohemian Grove. These are the people that used to hang out at this place, and they would put on robes, and they would worship an owl god, and they would burn an effigy. And they're playing, and Alex snuck in and made video footage of this shit. And then no one's denying that it's real. This really did happen. They're in with these bankers and former presidents, and they're dressed like druids.
Yes.
And some guy brings over something it's an effigy that's supposed to be a body, a wrapped up effigy. It's also a bunch of sticks in a blanket, but it's like shaped like a body.
Yeah.
And then they drop it on the fire, and they're all worshiping an owl god. This place where like former presidents go. There's a photograph of it's Ronald Reagan with Herbert Walker Bush and a couple other people all standing around. Like, first of all, Epstein had this crazy place in New York City,
7-story palace.
that the guy who owned Victoria's Secrets, he gave it to him.
Yeah, because of probably blackmail. Bill Gates stays there and tried to deny it, but Bill Gates denies staying with Epstein, but confirmed he stayed there and in his Paris home.
He met with him post his first arrest, correct?
Yes.
Because he was arrested.
A lot of people did. Chelsea Handler had dinner with him, I believe, after the arrest, too. I mean, a lot of people looked past that, apparently.
Yeah, that British royal.
Okay, Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein many times despite his past. Where are they getting all the money, first of all? Where's he getting the money to get this island?
He was also the money manager for a guy named Les Wexner, who's a billionaire who owns Victoria's Secret, The Limited, among other things.
So that's the guy
he was gifting Epstein a property. He gave him a $70
Well, that's where he got some of the first money.
You might recognize this painting, The Girl with a Pearl Earring, but did you know the story of this girl is haunting? Her name is Florique Ringic. She was only 19 years old when Dutch artist Johannes Vermeer painted her. But Johannes wanted the painting to depict an imaginary girl, so he murdered Florique and tried to cover up her existence. He did it very successfully. Many art scholars still believe this painting to be an imaginary woman, but recently Dutch historians have found evidence of the girl's existence through diary entries and other paintings of a similar looking girl.
There's huge conspiracy theories about the Denver airport. It's huge. There's giant bunkers for like the end of the world for the elite to come and stay safe after everybody else dies. There's a giant horse statue, and people say it symbolizes the apocalypse and the end of the world because it has bright red glowing eyes. The artist that designed it, during the construction of the horse, a piece of the horse fell off, landed on him, cut his leg off, and he bled to death. And so people say this thing is obviously evil because even the guy who constructed it died from it.
Here's some of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Part 5. Many families have come to know and love the movie WALL-E, the adorable robot that goes on an adventure through space. Many times throughout the film, it is made clear that WALL-E stores spare parts to fix himself. It's assumed that he takes them from the deactivated WALL-Es since they no longer need them. But how exactly did they deactivate if they are made to roam the planet forever? This theory states that the other robots kept stealing WALL-E's collection of items because they were still in their default programming. Much like when WALL-E was reset and did the same. WALL-E eventually got sick of it and broke all of the other robots in various ways, such as crushing them with trash cubes and taking their parts for salvage.
What if I told you that some Nazis didn't die? And some of the worst ones escaped to South America. Let's talk about it. So, it's actually a pretty well-known fact that after World War II, a lot of Nazis and ranking officers escaped to South America so that they wouldn't have to go through the Nuremberg trials. Just to go over it briefly for anyone who might not know or might not remember, the Nuremberg trials were a set of court trials that were held by the Allied powers after World War II to basically persecute the remaining Nazis or some of the remaining Nazis for war crimes. But here's where everything gets interesting. So again, for anybody who might not know, during the Nazis' rule over a lot of Europe, there was actually a doctor. His name was Josef Mengele. He was also known as the Doctor of Death or the Angel of Death. But what's fascinating about Dr. Mengele is that he was actually a firm believer, much like Hitler, in the idea of eugenics, or basically creating the perfect race using really fucked up genetic studies. And there were a lot of people, specifically Jews and a lot of people put into the concentration camps, who were actually subjects of Dr. Mengele. And a lot of what Mengele was trying to do was actually to breed out imperfections in humanity to create the perfect white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed race, to create the perfect Aryan race. And a part of his studies actually involved the study of twins. Dr. Mengele was a firm believer that twins were entirely genetic, and actually later in life and later in the world, we also realized that twins do have a genetic component. If a lot of people in your family tend to have twins, you're more likely to have twins. Or if you're a man, you're more likely to foster the creation of twins. Now, here's where it gets really fucking interesting. This place in Brazil, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name because I can't, is also known as the Twins Town or the Village of Twins. And like I said earlier, it's a known fact that a lot of Nazis who escaped the Nuremberg trials fled to South America. Some of the countries they fled to were Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina. What's interesting about this place specifically, though, is that they have an alarmingly or abnormally high rate of twin births in this town for an unknown reason. Nobody's actually been able to say why this town specifically fosters so many pairs of twins. And it's not necessarily a genetic thing because obviously not everybody in the town is related. So there's actually a theory that Dr. Mengele escaped to this place and he continued his research, and that's why there's so many twins, because he was researching on the locals there. But here's where it gets scary. But for me to continue, I have to go into a part 2, and I'm really sorry, guys, but trust me, it's worth it. So look out for part 2.
This SpongeBob conspiracy is really creepy. So you guys know the Krabby Patty, right? There's a really dark conspiracy of people knowing the formula. Some people think it's actually made out of crab meat. I know that sounds crazy, but let me explain. Notice how the Krusty Krab is actually shaped the same way as a crab trap. Also, there's evidence in this clip of Mr. Krabs.
So that's what I tasted.
What the heck?
If you guys listen close enough, it said, so that's what I taste like. Maybe that's why Mr. Krabs is always trying to hide the formula.
This dark theory about Willy Wonka will ruin your childhood. Do not watch if you love this film. So we all know Willy Wonka owns a chocolate factory and invites 5 lucky kids to visit the chocolate factory and a chance to win the ultimate prize. But what if I told you Willy Wonka is actually a serial killer? Throughout the film, he tests the kids in all different ways to see who's worthy enough to own the chocolate factory. The theory is that Willy Wonka is actually a murderer and kills all these kids in like Saw-style traps. But this theory gets even weirder, right? So they say that Willy Wonka experienced something as a child which got him obsessed with traps. So what if he was actually Kevin McAllister from Home Alone? Do you believe this creepy theory?
Y'all think, bro? Y'all think, man? Genetic splicing, bro. It's a movie called Splice, bro. Probably pull it up, bro.
About the moon landings.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest. It didn't happen.
The moon landing?
It could have been scary.
It's crazy, man. If there's a firmament up there, bro, how the heck they
You guys
pass that
need to
firmament,
watch this
bro?
video of Cat Williams talking about Kevin Hurt.
At the end of the day, Kevin doesn't have to worry about what people are going to say about him wearing a dress because of the long line of dress wearing people before him. So now we have Big Mama's house 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit. I think she wears dresses. So now I'm saying, why are we picking on poor little Kevin Hart? Because it was his turn next.
Okay.
Some of us are against the Illuminati, and we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them. Nobody likes them. End quote.
We all love Dave Chappelle.
Exactly. Dave Chappelle has never been a part of the Illuminati. They don't want him or me or people like us.
The disturbing Japanese legend iceberg. This picture contains a list of urban legends from the least disturbing to the most. Today we're going to be talking about, or better known as, the Answer Man. This is a newer urban legend that honestly you could try at home if you're brave enough. It starts with 10 people sitting in a circle and each person calls the individual to their left. Everybody presses call at the same time, so naturally some people's calls don't go through, but that's when the Answer Man picks up. The Answer Man picks up the phone on the other line and you are able to ask one question and he has to give you the right answer. And this question could literally be anything you can think of. After you ask your question, the Answer Man then will ask one of his own. And here's the thing, if you get his question wrong, a hand is supposed to come through the screen and rip a limb off your body. So tag 9 other people who are down to play this game with you, because I for sure will not play this one. Make sure to like and follow for more videos.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously ruin your life. This list shows all the conspiracy theories from the most normal ones we all know to the darkest of the dark that will change the way you literally see the world. And of course in this series we're going to be going from the top all the way down to the bottom. Come back, let's go for part 2. Titanic didn't hit an iceberg. So we all know about the Titanic, of course, the really famous ship that sunk, and it's commonly believed that it hit an iceberg, but this might change your mind. This is mental. There was of course survivors of the Titanic, and a lot of them were interviewed. Not one of them mentioned anything about an iceberg. What's crazy is a few people did say that there was a fire. Interesting. Now go and look at this. Before the ship even set sail, you can see a burn area in the photo. And it's actually the engine and boiler room right there. And if there was a fire in there, that's not ideal. Now there's a couple of theories I'm going to talk about. The first one was that it never even hit an iceberg at all. It was actually an inside job done by people such as the Rothschild family, which I will make a video on later in the series. Main theory that is very believable has something to do with this burn mark. Now the theory is there was a fire on the Titanic before it even set off, and this fire weakened the hull of the boat. Maybe there was an iceberg, but not as big as it's made out to be. It did hit this iceberg, and if there wasn't a fire, it would have been completely fine. Everyone would have just not even realised. But due to the hull and the ship already being weakened from the fire, that's what made it sink. I mean, that's a very believable theory. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And make sure you hit that follow button, because it's going to get crazier. Obviously.
World's most dangerous conspiracy theories. This picture contains a list of conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Welcome to Tier 9. Today we're going to be talking about the strange Barry Picker disappearances. God, that's a mouthful to say. In 2011, a man named David wrote a book called Missing 411. The book covers all of the most unsolved cases of people going missing in national parks. Some people would just wander off the trail, some would fall into the river, and some people didn't even know they were missing. Do you want to know what all of these people had in common right before they went missing? They were all picking berries. Stay with me, it's about to get crazy. One case is 6-year-old Lillian Carney, and in 1897, she went missing right after she was picking
berries. According to her parents, she
No,
was
she's
here for
trying to
1
eat.
second
She's
and
trying to
gone the
eat.
next, almost like she just vanished. They notified the
Let her
police, and
be.
around midnight, which was 12 hours later, they found her miles away from where she originally was, and they found her in a dazed trance. It gets even weirder. Police then start to question her on how she went missing, thinking maybe the parents had something to do with it. The little girl didn't even remember walking, which is crazy because she was miles away from where she originally was at. On top of that, she said the sun shined all the time, which would be impossible because it was midnight. Now, this didn't happen just once, but this has happened over 50 times. So are these people just mysteriously going missing in the woods? Or is there something darker here that we don't know about? Make sure to like and follow for more videos.
Scariest conspiracy theories in the world that will seriously change your life. Part 11. Today we are talking about time loops. This is mental and very, very confusing. So you've seen films such as Groundhog Day, Palm Springs, or Dark or anything. You kind of get the gist of this, where people are kind of stuck in a time loop, reliving the same day again and again and again. Like things like Groundhog Day, Happy Death Day, all of that kind of stuff. What if this actually exists in real life? The theory is maybe there is some kind of wormholey weird places on Earth that connect interdimensionally with parallel universes. Told you it was confusing, didn't I? Now, if you don't know parallel universes, a universe is the same as ours, where things play out differently. Maybe there are actual things like this out there. So kind of think of it as if like a black hole but on Earth. And maybe when you enter this, it kind of freezes time so you're just stuck on your own. Almost like in your own bubble, just going through the same day again and again and again. I mean, it's mental and a crazy theory, but I mean, if you think about certain explanations for it, it kind of could be possible. But it's still mental.
The childhood conspiracy theory iceberg. This picture represents conspiracy theories that will change your childhood forever. As always, make sure to join the Discord for the full list. This is tier 1. Mrs. Puff is a psychopath. We've all seen SpongeBob, and we've all seen Mrs. Puff before. On the episode titled No Free Rides in Season 2, Mrs. Puff says this.
What have I done? Everyone will know that I let him slide through school. I'll have to move to a new city, start a new boating school with a new name.
No, not again.
This is hinting that Mrs. Puff has changed her identity before, and I promise this gets worse. In Season 12, Episode 21, SpongeBob is helping her organize some of her junk, and he comes across a newspaper that says, deranged boat teacher makes getaway. So the real question remains, who is Mrs. Puff? Make sure to like and follow for tomorrow's video.
Bro, what the heck? These are weird, bro. But we got some more, bro. Y'all stay tuned, bro. We got some more scary videos. I'll keep watching, bro.
Driving on the countryside at night when they caught this on camera. Pay attention to the windows when they start filming the old houses.
There it is. Holy fuck. Go, 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 go,
Somebody
go, go.
crib. Somebody living there, bro. I'm telling you, bro. You never know.
Sometimes I hear stories so
Nobody
scary it makes me
chilling.
check every room in my apartment. So years ago, this older woman was living alone in her home in Denver. She had recently broken her hip, and before she went to the hospital, her house felt fine. But when she came back, something felt off. Like it would sound like her caretaker was in the other room, but when she would go in, no one would be there. There were also way more like bumps in the night, and sometimes those bumps sounded like footsteps. Eventually, this woman starts thinking that her house is haunted. But one night, her caretaker is getting ready to leave for the day, and she hears the noises. And she's like, I have to check this out. I have to get to the bottom of what this is. So she goes to the back stairs where she hears the sound coming from, and there she sees this skeletal man with sunken-in eyes just staring back at her. And she loses it. She runs away screaming. She calls the police, and the police come and search the house, but they can't find anyone until they check the attic, and they see that there's this crawl space, which is about the size of a coffin, that an adult man had been living in. Yeah, and he had been there for 9 months. And crazier yet, the man ends up confessing to a murder. The whole story is super wild. Make sure you check it out on the podcast this week.
What the heck? That dude living in the freaking attic on that movie? Well, I know.
This would
Weird.
be the creepiest thing that you see
Man,
today.
that'd be weird.
A neighbor
bro.
noticed strange paranormal activity
Yeah,
coming
you'll
from
add it.
another neighbor's garage. He pulled out his phone. Take a look at what he captured.
Getting creepy, y'all. Getting creepy.
The figure slows down, slowly peers at the neighbor before disappearing. I told you.
He said somebody
Clips
looking
like
at
this
him.
always convince me that we really do need a team of Ghostbusters. How great would that be?
Ghostbusters.
Something spooky happens.
Oh, shit.
Call them up.
Who you gonna call? All these goddamn ghosts roaming around.
I don't think this was a picture that many people were supposed to see. When these things leak, we typically talk about them. This was the photo that I wanted to talk about, and unlike some of them, for this one, I could pretty much spot straight away what was wrong with the picture. And this was a picture that nobody was ever supposed to see. We know it took place somewhere in this suburban neighborhood, like a quiet town. The entire family vanished without a trace, but they searched the phones because those were oddly enough left behind. On the phone of the mother, this was a picture that was found, and I'll tell you why it's so strange. Before we do, as always, if you have not listened to Creep Time the podcast, go click the link in my bio to listen on Spotify or Apple. Like I said, this picture taken by the mother, right? If you look to the back, who is that in this room? According to this file that leaked, this was a family of all boys, a husband, and the mother. Is this unexplained woman that's in their house? Nothing in their file to explain this person.
This group of friends decided to drive a Tesla through a cemetery, and it kept detecting ghosts.
They freaking out, man. Start driving through a cemetery for just to make the video.
Strange things happened in this abandoned psychiatric hospital. Patients were electroshocked and injured in the name of making the bad juices flow out of their body. When it was still open, a nurse reported feeling hands squeezing her throat and choking her when she went to sleep. A colleague of hers said that his record player started playing suddenly, and that his deceased grandma floated through a wall to warn him he wasn't alone. There's also cases of hospital staff going crazy. After the hospital was closed in 1986, a ghost hunter had a conversation with a girl who hid in the hospital during World War II and told her about more horrible things that happened. The building has been renovated and turned into luxury apartments. Would you dare to live here?
Are you ready to see a really spooky
Is y'all
photo?
there to live?
Many people like to believe that when someone passes on, their spirit stays close. It's a comforting thought. But then there's this picture. Denise Russell took this photo in 1997, and this lovely woman in the photo is her grandmother. And the gentleman in the background is her grandfather. Sweet, right? Except her grandpa passed away in 1984. Safe to say, this photo really shocked the family. So, the question is it comforting or a bit spooky? I'd say half and half.
On August 11th, 2020, police dispatchers received what they referred to as an abandoned 911 call just before 3:30 a.m. An abandoned 911 call is when the dispatcher answers only to have the caller hang up. But when they called the line back, something answered. At first, they only hear static in the background, and then a faint, inaudible voice. Police were sent to check it out, and when they arrived, they quickly realized that the call they received was from the local funeral home with a cemetery attached. But the police quickly got spooked because while checking it out, they noticed that the building was locked up, dark, and nobody was in sight.
This 800-year-old book contains one of the most cursed images on the planet. So I already know that some of you are going to say this guy looks like he's straight out of South Park. But some historians say that this is the most accurate portrait of the devil ever drawn. I'm going to tell you more about it, but if you want the full deep dive and a couple other scary stories, check out this week's episode. This is the book. It's known as the Devil's Bible, and it's the largest surviving book from the Middle Ages. For reference, it's 3 feet long and 165 pounds. Historians can tell it was written by one person, and they think it would have taken 20 years to write, but the legend says that it was written in one night. The story goes that back in the 1200s, there was a monk that was sentenced to death. He was going to be walled alive, which is where you stand in place and they build this little coffin around you, and then you just wait to die. But the monk pleaded with the judge and said, if you let me live, I will write the entirety of human knowledge into one book, and I'll do it in one night. The judge agreed, but a few hours after the monk started writing, he realized he wasn't going to be able to finish that night. He ended up making a pact with the devil so that he could finish the book in one evening. And in return, he drew an accurate portrait of the devil he saw inside of the book. It's also believed that anyone who's ever owned the book has also been cursed, which I get into in the episode, so check it out.
She filmed herself sleep talking with a ghost. In 2013, a woman named Jenny began using an app to record her sleep. She lived alone, but she kept waking up to these weird clicking sounds at night. So she begins to use this app to monitor her sleep. And for the first couple weeks, she doesn't find anything out of the ordinary. But on October 30th at 2 a.m., the app began recording that strange
what
clicking
about
sound.
3 a.m.?
Then Jenny begins sleep talking with someone. And what she recorded is terrifying. Take a listen. Hauntingly, when Jenny woke up the next morning, she had no memory of any of this. Then she listened to the playback, and she was petrified. That's who I imagine Jenny was talking to. Many believe that Jenny captured a ghost talking to her in her sleep, and she moved shortly after this. And honestly, who could blame her? If I have talked to a ghost while I've been asleep,
Moving
I
out.
don't know about it. That is between sleeping me
Oh,
and the ghost. Keep
nah,
me out of it, am I right? I'm gonna need a nightlight tonight. How about you?
This hotel is haunted. According to writer John Van Ierland, the girl that haunts the halls of Hotel Maasbosch was traveling to the hotel during the Second World War when the Nazis attacked resistance. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was killed by the Germans. Ever since, she's been haunting the hotel in order to find peace. In 2010, a couple ran into the lobby of Hotel Maasbosch in the middle of the night. They demanded they get a different room. Every time they turned their light off, they would see someone standing in the shadows, looking at them. A few months later, 3 psychics visited the haunted room and were barely able to breathe the entire time they were in the room. Would you spend a night in the haunted room?
No, bro. Y'all, what the heck, bro? What they keep asking?
And that's been, bro, conspiracy TikTok that might change your reality, man.
So these was weird, bro. This is actually weird, bro. Smash that like button if y'all want to see some more conspiracy TikTok, bro. See y'all in the next episode. Take care of y'all. So I'm out.